Let us pray. Almighty God, where you have called us to govern this province, we ask your help to make decisions and laws that will be just and that will promote the interest of the people. Almagtige God, ons bid dat u gedurende ons vergaderings ons die nodige wysheid sal gee en ons motiewe suiwer sal hou en dat u ons sal help om al ons tekortkominge te oorkom en al ons besluite aan u op te dra. Sikelela ilezwe letu na bantu balu. Umusile ukulungu kwipondo letu. Nkosi sikelela i-Afrika kina abantwana bayo kokhela inkokheli zayo yeniki uxolo i-Afrika. All this we beg in your holy name. Amen. Please be seated. Good afternoon, honourable members. Before we proceed, I would like to remind members about some of the logistical arrangements. As has been our practice to date, honourable members will participate in the sitting of the House, both from here in the chamber with the presiding officer and the table staff, and via Microsoft Teams. Our standing rules have accordingly been amended to accommodate such hybrid sittings of the House. Honourable members experiencing challenges in connecting to the sitting are requested to contact the WCPP ICT colleagues who will assist to resolve their connectivity issues. The quorum requirements for sittings of the House are provided for in the Constitution and the standing rules. Honourable members, unless there is an indication of unanimous concurrence, voting will be confined to members present in the House and on the hybrid system who are entitled to cast their votes as per the ATC issued on the 11th of August 2020. Members present in the chamber and via Microsoft Teams have all the privileges and immunities imparted by law. Members who are considered out of order by the presiding officer will have their microphones muted and called to order. The Sergeant at Arms will record members' attendance. Honourable members, in instances where these directives do not cover a particular eventuality, the standing rules must be applied, and in instances where the rules cannot be applied, the ruling by the presiding officer is final. Members, all microphones have been muted. However, for those honourable members participating in the sitting of the House via Microsoft Teams, you are requested to use the raise hand functionality of the system when you desire to raise a point of order, and I will recognise you. When an honourable member in the chamber wishes to raise a point of order, such an honourable member may address the presiding officer as expected, but must mute their microphones when they have completed speaking. Honourable members, you are requested to please ensure that your microphones are unmuted when the presiding officer recognises you, and when you are done speaking, please mute your microphones. Honourable members participating in the sitting of the House via Microsoft Teams are requested not to sign into Microsoft Teams on more than one device unless the second device is utilised with earphones for language translation services. Honourable members, the media have also been granted access to this Microsoft Teams meeting as guests of the WCPP. However, members of the press may not use the chat room or speak or activate their cameras while the sitting is in progress. If an individual who is not a member of the House activates their microphone and video camera, such an individual will be exited from the sitting immediately. I also wish to take this opportunity to request all our guests in the gallery to also observe the decorum of the House. Honourable members, all language translation services are available in the chamber as usual and on Microsoft Teams via the respective channels. Honourable members, I wish to remind you that no interjections are permitted during these hybrid sittings, and to this end, I wish to draw your attention to Rule 40 of our standing rules. Honourable members, please allow me an opportunity to welcome all the guests in the gallery. Welcome to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, and welcome to the sitting today. I would like to acknowledge the Consul General of Turkey, the CG. Welcome to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. It's always nice to have you visiting the WCPP. Honourable members, with that being said, I recognise the Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Speaker, I move a motion without notice that the existing contract contract of the Registrar of Members Interest Advocate P. Burgess be extended on the same terms and conditions for a period of no longer than 2 months with effect from 1 December 2023. I so move, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Whip. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved? No objections. Agreed to. I recognise the Honourable Chief Whip.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, notwithstanding the provision of Rule 18, the hours of sitting on Tuesday, the 28th of November 2023, Tuesday, the 5th of December 2023, and Thursday, the 7th of December 2023, shall be from 10 o'clock to adjournment. I so move, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Whip. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved? No objections. Agreed to. I recognise the Chief Whip.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Speaker, I move that the President's motion in terms of Rule 20, that the Municipal Economic Review and Outlook receives precedence in today's sitting. I so move, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Whip. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved? No objections. Agreed to. Honourable members, I now call upon the Honourable Minister of Finance and Economic Opportunities to table the Municipal Economic Review and Outlook. The Honourable Minister of Finance, Minister Wenger.
Honourable Speaker, Honourable Premier, Cabinet Ministers, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, members and people of the Western Cape. In September, I had the honour of tabling before this House the Provincial Economic Review and Outlook for 2022-23, which kicked off our annual budgetary processes. And today, I'm extremely proud to share the invaluable insights contained in the Municipal Economic Review and Outlook for 2023-24, or MIRO, which drills down into key trends in our municipalities. The MIRO provides an in-depth look into each of the 5 district municipalities, 1 metropolitan municipality, and every one of the 24 local municipalities in the province, giving us the evidence we need to fully realise the many opportunities across the Western Cape. And this data is so important precisely because our municipalities are our building blocks for economic growth. And by understanding the various trends in each district, each local municipality, and the metro, we are empowered with the information and evidence we need to deliver a better future in which we create many more jobs, and with those jobs, hope for our residents. Some of the innovations in the 23-24 MIRO include spatial tax employment data, set out at subsector and town level, as well as new indicators, including the number of grant recipients, levels of malnutrition, food poverty, literacy levels by race, grade 3, 6, and 9 language and maths pass rates, grade 12 bachelor pass rates, as well as housing demand for each municipality in the Western Cape. For us in the public sector, this information generates a fresh understanding of the spatial dynamics of our municipal economies, empowering local and provincial government with the evidence needed to identify and address trends based on actual data, so that we can take advantage of clear competitive advantages that will enable economic growth and job creation in their regions. And for the private sector, the MIRO gives a concise analysis of investment potential, comparative advantage, and economic specialization of each local municipal area, providing data-led evidence to inform and drive private sector investments across the province for the benefit of all. The insights and analysis shared in the MIRO are a core part of our commitment to govern with purpose and productive and meaningful economic growth, which sits at the very heart of the Western Cape's Growth for Jobs strategy, reflecting our knowledge that it is the private sector that creates jobs and that government's role is to make this as easy as possible. We also know that our province is experiencing a substantial growth in population, increasing demand for basic services in education and health, as well as the demand for housing in the province. Coupled with the ongoing energy crisis, it is clear that the work underway in our municipalities towards jobs, growth, hope, and dignity will require tough trade-offs for better results. That makes the importance of the information, data, and analysis contained in this mighty but very beautiful tome of books especially important this year as we work to realize the promise of a thriving economy through our municipal building blocks for growth in the Western Cape. And so before I share some of the key trends that emerge from the data, I'd like to express my heartfelt gratitude for the Herculean effort put in by our public servants in the Provincial Treasury. A special word of thanks goes to Shirley Robinson, Nadia Ringquest, Shannon Engel, and Marita Jacobs for their impeccable work on the Miro under the guidance and leadership of our acting head official of the Treasury, Ms. Jalinda Gantana. Speaker, as we're all well aware, years of load shedding, national government corruption, combined with ballooning public sector wage bill and the continued failure of state-owned enterprises like Eskom and Transnet means we face an unprecedented fiscal crisis. More than ever before, the Western Cape is pressed to do far more with much less to ensure that frontline services are delivered to those who need them the most. For municipalities, our growth drivers, which are the very coalface of service delivery that supports and enables the growth of local economies, the constrained fiscal environment and cross-cutting socioeconomic challenges require further improved planning, budgeting, cooperation and coordination between the various spheres of government. And so the Miro provides insights municipalities need to formulate targeted responses in their municipal integrated development plans, spatial development frameworks, local economic development strategies, and budgets for evidence-based decision-making. It also empowers us to identify what plans are working and where, so that the best outcomes can be replicated and non-performing interventions can be adjusted to improve their impact. Although not unique to South Africa, the post-COVID-19 global economy continues to face challenges, including supply chain disruptions, fuel and food price inflation, which are exacerbated by geopolitical tensions. We are not immune to these impacts, but here in South Africa, we have the additional crippling burden of load shedding now running for a quarter of a century. In spite of this, we continue to see job creation and growth improve, reflecting the province's adaptability and resilience, reinforcing the importance of this government's commitment to our priorities of jobs, safety, and well-being. Projections for population growth indicate an upturn in the growth rate during 2023, which will settle at this higher level over the medium term. It is vital that population growth is factored into the planning and budgeting of all spheres of government because it will have an impact on service delivery, especially in frontline services and housing demand. Load shedding continues to place significant stress on municipal finances, which are already constrained and reliant to a large extent on revenue generated through the provision of electricity. Municipal budgets, particularly their capital budgets, are thus dependent on financial assistance in the form of grants and transfers from the national and provincial government. With the national fiscus under substantial pressure, translating into cuts to municipal grants, it is more critical than ever that municipalities explore alternative financing for infrastructure developments and take a proactive role in championing energy sustainability aimed at stimulating economic growth and employment opportunities. The national energy crisis is one of the country's most pressing problems. And in the Western Cape, with our abundance of natural resources, renewable energy presents us with an opportunity for economic growth. The benefits of attracting renewable energy investment are twofold: ensuring a stable supply of power that businesses need to maintain and expand operations, and the opportunity to turn to far more sustainable energy production methods that secure the electricity supply in the long run and transform the sector to make sure every resident and business is enabled to build their skills and jobs towards a brighter and greener future. Determined work is therefore underway to make sure that no municipality is left behind in our quest to be more energy resilient over the short, medium, and longer term. Speaker, turning to our provincial and regional economic indicators, we saw great momentum in our post-COVID-19 provincial economy last year. And the Miro details our expectation that provincial gross domestic product, GDP, will slow across districts in 2023. But by 2024, forecasts reflect that economic expansion will exceed pre-COVID levels in all regions outside of the Cape Metro, giving a clear indication of just how valuable municipalities are as our building blocks of growth. Gross domestic product per region, or GDPR, performance is normalizing to pre-COVID-19 levels, and all districts outside of the Cape Metro have grown and increased their contribution to GDPR in 2022. The same is true for contribution to employment. In 2022, the 3 municipalities that contributed the most to GDPR growth were the Cape Metro, George and Drakensberg, with Langeberg, Kaland and the Breda Valley exhibiting the highest GDPR growth in the province. By 2022, GDP in all districts and the Metro had fully recovered economic losses due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This is very welcome news, and I congratulate each of these regions. We also saw the unemployment rate decrease from 28.8% in 2021 to 28.6% in 2022 in the city of Cape Town, with both the labour force participation and absorption rates increasing in the same period. The same impressive rebounds and increases in employment, as well as decreases in unemployment, can be seen in the West Coast, with just over 10,800 new jobs created between 2021 and 2022, with a decrease of 0.7% in unemployment. The Overberg saw an increase of nearly 9,000 new jobs between 2021 and 2022, and a 1.3% decrease in unemployment. The Garden Route district saw a decrease of 1.2% in unemployment, and in the Central Karoo, unemployment decreased by 0.9% over the same period. In every single district across the province, as well as in the Cape Metro, both the labour force participation rates and the labour absorption rates increased between 2021 and 2022, showing that more people are not only available and looking for work, but are also finding work in the Western Cape. These trends, combined with the recent data released by Statistics South Africa in the most recent quarterly labour force survey, show that our job figures for 2023 look even more promising. While we continue to work hard to enable more job creation in the Western Cape, it is encouraging to see low rural unemployment rates, with 4 out of 6 regions having unemployment rates below 20%, with the Cape Winelands and Overberg districts under 15%. Speaker, the Western Cape is working. From the SARS data, we see that in the Cape Winelands, the West Coast and Garden Route districts are growing. The growing of perennial crops, such as apples, pears, grapes, citrus, wheat, and canola, are responsible for the majority of formal jobs. In fact, perennial crop production accounts for 5.6% of all provincial fixed-term employment opportunities, or more than 101,000 jobs. The top export from the Cape Winelands last year was citrus, to the value of 8.1 billion rand, destined mainly for the Netherlands. The Garden Route produced apples, pears, and quinces to the value of 1.6 billion rand, mostly bound for Norway as the top export destination. While in the Overberg, the same products with 817.5 million rand were mainly exported to the United Kingdom, and nearly 22 million rand worth of sweetened milk and cream being exported from the Central Karoo, with their top export market being our neighbour, Namibia. We can see from the Miro, and I'm sure Minister Mayor will agree, that our world-class agricultural goods are sought after globally, giving us the opportunity to truly unleash our municipal building blocks of growth by leveraging this sector to contribute even more to economic growth and job creation. This is precisely why we are determined to get the Port of Cape Town functioning optimally, and precisely why it's high time that Transnet urgently invests in port infrastructure and equipment needed to support the current and future expansion of our world-renowned, in-demand agricultural produce. Because when our port works, so too does our economy, enabling the creation of many more jobs for residents in the province and country. When looking at the skills landscape, we see an apparent rise in the demand for skilled labor, driven by technological advancements and the continued structural shift of the Western Cape economy towards tertiary sector activities. This trend underscores the importance of upskilling initiatives and reaffirms the work the Western Cape government is achieving in growing the business process outsourcing or BPO sector. Going forward, prioritizing education and learner support should continue to be a strategic priority given the labour market's increasing skill requirements. Moving on to tourism. Speaker, the Mirror details the strong performance of tourism as an especially strong building block for growth in our municipalities. We've seen the very impressive recovery of the tourism sector overall, contributing greatly to economic growth and job creation. Tourist spending as a proportion of GDPR is increasing in all districts and in the Cape Metro, with the exception of the Central Karoo district, which saw a decrease in tourism spending as a share of GDPR. In the Cape Metro, the tourism sector experienced a substantial growth of 191% in international bed nights between 2021 and 22, while domestic bed nights decreased by 0.3% in the same period. The majority of visitors to the West Coast are domestic travellers, 84.7%. We are seeing that international market is showing impressive growth with an increase of 195% in bed nights between 2021 and 22 in this region. Similarly, most visitors to the garden route are domestic, despite domestic nights contracting by 3.7% between 2021 and 2022. This district also showed an impressive growth in international visitors with a 193% increase in international bed nights. The growth in both these regions reflects the determined work that the province is doing to ensure that visitors stay longer, travel further, and spend more forex across our region. Of note is the fact that 44.9% of overnight visitors to the Central Karoo were international, and international bed nights grew by 194% between 2021 and 22. However, we are seeing the impact of the cost of living crisis on domestic tourism, with domestic tourism spending as a share of GDPR decreasing between 2020 and 2022 from 13% to 9.6%. This clearly shows the impact of the ever-increasing cost of living and why I remain on my mission to engage with Minister Motsoaledi to ensure that our visa regime becomes an enabler of economic growth and job creation rather than the unnecessary obstacle it currently is. On infrastructure, Speaker, as much as we believe that it's the private sector that creates jobs, we know that government has a vital role to play to support and enable that growth. Public sector infrastructure spend is a central pillar of economic development, a key measure of the health of an economy, as well as the commitment of a government to supporting the future growth of an area. The utilization of spatial data and strategic planning is essential to guarantee that infrastructure projects are well suited to their respective regions so that we can spend wisely to realize the best results for residents. Overall, and over the medium-term expenditure framework, our district and metro municipalities will be collectively spending 56.1 billion rand on infrastructure, including wastewater management, energy sources and water management, human settlements, transport, and public works. In the City of Cape Town alone, infrastructure spend budgeted for the current 23-24 financial year is 11 billion rand, with a strong focus on wastewater, road transport, energy sources, and water management. In the West Coast District in 23-24, 12.9 million rand has been allocated for water management infrastructure in the Matsikama municipal area, and a total of 100 MTF projects planned for the district over the next 3 years, valued at 2.3 billion rand. With the Garden Route district being susceptible to drought, George, Bitu, and Oudtshoorn municipalities have made water management a priority, allocating 380 million, 27 million, and 18 million respectively. At the same time, Hesekwa municipality has allocated the highest proportion of its 23-24 infrastructure budget to energy sources at 24.2 million rand. And overall for the region, municipalities are spending 4.8 billion rand over the MTF in the region, clearly building for growth. Other critical infrastructure investments detailed in the Mero and across our municipal building blocks of growth are the budget allocations for the maintenance and upgrades of road infrastructure, which have been prioritized due to their role in supporting and enabling mobility, trade, and tourism. And in the Cape Winelands, a total of 151 projects are planned over the 23 MTF, totaling 5.5 billion rand, with a focus on transport and public works and human settlements. As we've witnessed recently, we cannot ignore the impact of climate-related disasters on our road infrastructure, and more will be shared on the province's response during the adjustment budget that I will deliver next week on Tuesday, the 28th of November. I would like to commend my colleagues in local government and infrastructure under the leadership of Ministers Riddell and Simmers in their coordinated and swift response to the most pressing needs of our provincial communities and economy. Speaker, when we look at measures to improve the well-being of residents, as well as the impact of key interventions to address income inequality, standard of living, and the like, we look at the Gini coefficient as well as the Human Development Index, HDI, as a composite measure of three basic aspects of human development: health, knowledge, and standard of living. Income inequality in the Cape Metro, measured by the Gini coefficient, is on par with the province at 0.601 in 2022, and better than that of South Africa, which sits at 0.618, indicating that there is less inequality in the Western Cape than in the country as a whole. Looking at longer-term trends, it's encouraging to see that the Gini coefficient declined in the Cape Metro area and the province between 2019 and 2022. The Human Development Index, which measures health, education, and standard of living of the Cape Metro at 0.734, exceeds that of the province at 0.722, and the rest of the country at 0.654, indicating that residents are better off in the Cape Metro area. In the West Coast District, after declining in 2021, the HDI improved in 2022, but remains lower than recorded before the COVID-19 pandemic due to the slow recovery of income. The recovery of HDI in all regions has been impacted by the slow income recovery, apart from the Central Karoo, where HDI is higher than what it was prior to the pandemic. While levels of poverty remain a concern in the West Coast, we have seen positive movements in the right direction, with the proportion of people below the food poverty line declining from 31.7% in 2021 to 30.7% in 2022. Overall, it remains lower than the overall provincial food poverty level of 32.9% and the national food poverty level of 35.3%. In 2022, income inequality in the Cape Winelands was lower when compared to the province, with only the Stellenbosch municipal area exceeding the NDP 2030 target of 0.6, with a Gini coefficient of 0.607. While income inequality in the Overberg slightly exceeded that of the province, income inequality has steadily declined since 2020 in all municipal areas of that district. This district also had fewer people below the food poverty line than the province. Income inequality in the Central Karoo is comparatively low, with a Gini coefficient of 0.580 in 2022. This region also saw a decline in the number of indigent households in 2022, while the proportion of people below the food poverty line declined to 27.9% in 2022. This data is perhaps what makes the Mero so valuable for us in the government. The work being done in our municipalities does matter to households and families, and the evidence is reflecting improvements in standard of living across the Western Cape. Equally important are education outcomes, as Minister Mania will agree, and I commend and welcome the improvements in learner-to-teacher ratios across the province, despite the rapid increase in learner numbers. We've also seen continuous improvement in retention rates across the province. The Cape Metro, West Coast, and Cape Winelands district recorded a reduction in their learner-teacher ratio, which is admirable, considering all three recorded an increase in learners in 2022. And in the Cape Metro, at 30.4 learners per teacher, the ratio is lower than the level desired by the Department of Basic Education of 35:1, for ordinary high schools and 40 to 1 for ordinary primary schools. And while the Cape Metro recorded the highest bachelor pass rates in the province at 42.4%, we are concerned with the declining matric pass rates in the West Coast, Garden Route, and Central Karoo. Other positive education outcomes include the grade 10 to 12 learner retention rate in the Western Cape, which increased from 67.8% in 2020 to 75.3% in 2022. This means our children are staying in school for longer. We noted learner-to-teacher ratios in the Overberg declining to 29.6 in 2022, despite a substantial increase in learners in 2022, 1,469, most of which are in the Theewaterskloof and Overstrand municipal areas. Other education improvements include higher pass rates in languages and mathematics for grade 3s and 6 in most municipal areas in the Overberg. In the Garden Route, the increase in learner enrollment was met with an increase in teachers, resulting in a marginal decline in the learner-teacher ratio in 2022. Other positive education outcomes include improving learner retention rates in all municipal areas except in Hisaqua and Mossel Bay. And finally, the Central Karoo District recorded positive changes in several education indicators, including increased learner enrollment, a decline in the learner-teacher ratio, and an increase in the grade 10 to 12 learner retention rate. Speaker, when we turn to key health outcomes across the Western Cape regions, the Mirror uses maternal mortality and data on teenage pregnancies to show progress. In the Western Cape as a whole, delivery rates of females between the ages of 10 and 19 remain stable at 11.5% in the 21, 22, and 22, 23 years. And we welcome the news that in each of the Cape Winelands, Overberg, Garden Route, and Central Karoo districts, teenage pregnancies have decreased. However, teenage pregnancy remains a concern in the West Coast district, as well as Witzenberg in the Cape Winelands, which had the highest proportion of teenage births in the district in 2022 at 16.3%. However, this was a 0.7% lower than in 2021. There have also been some concerning increases in maternal mortality data in the Garden Route, and specifically in Mossel Bay. In the Central Karoo district, a sharp increase in neonatal mortality from 7.5 deaths per 1,000 live births in 2021 to 23.2 deaths per 1,000 live births in 2022, as well as an increase in maternal death rates. It has, however, been encouraging to see the declining rates of maternal mortality in the Cape Metro, Cape Winelands, and West Coast districts, which Ms. Timbombo will welcome, and I'm sure will leverage the learnings from these different districts to replicate support in the regions where maternal deaths have increased. The Cape Metro area recorded an increase in the low birth weight rate and an increase in the number of children affected by severe acute malnutrition, which is aligned with the elevated levels of food poverty prevalent in the Cape Metro area. While in the West Coast district, all municipal areas recorded a reduction in the number of children with severe acute malnutrition, except for the Matsikama municipal area, which increased from 1.2 per 1,000 children under 5 to 3.1 per 1,000 children under 5. Speaker, this only strengthens our resolve to do even more with our diminishing resources for the families that are making the Western Cape their home. Turning to a topic which keeps us all up at night, especially Premier Wendy and Minister Allen, is the safety of our residents, communities, and businesses in the Western Cape. The rise in the incidence of crime in the Western Cape remains a concern because we know that it impacts the quality of life of our communities and compromises
Order, members.
all of which has the potential to derail socio-economic improvements. Mero shows that some inroads are being made to reduce categories of crime, and in the 22-23 year, the crime rate in the Cape Metro remained 2.9% lower than that of pre-pandemic levels. However, a cause for significant concern is the fact that drug-related crime has increased in almost all municipalities across the Western Cape between 2021 and 2022. The data in Mero highlights the inextricable link between joblessness, poverty, and the incidence of drug-related crimes. As a complex and multifaceted problem, combating the scourge as well as crime overall requires an all-of-society plan of action and will remain a priority of this government, as it should be a priority for a national government holding policing and safety purse strings. While the mirror reflects the continued challenges in terms of joblessness, safety, and well-being, it also shows us the very real and present opportunities we have to build a pathway to prosperity. Only by working together with local, district, and provincial governments, as well as the private sector, can we improve the foundations of growth, unlock opportunities to drive economic growth, and create jobs across our province. It is therefore my pleasure to table the Municipal Economic Review and Outlook for the 23-24 year in this Western Cape Provincial Parliament. I'd like to thank the Local Government Budget Office within the Provincial Treasury for their immense effort in putting this remarkable research report together, and especially for their commitment to making the information easily accessible through some really beautiful design elements, layouts, and some superb infographics. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude as well to the local government public finance team, Stephen Kenyon, Tobolani Njingila, Isaac C, and Dian Cronier for the support they provide day in and day out to all our municipalities. We appreciate deeply your hard work. And to the entire provincial team finance under the leadership of Acting Head Official Jalinda Gantana, for the immeasurable contribution made to supporting municipalities with this data so that they can continue to be our building blocks for growth, prosperity, and hope. And of course, to all our mayors, maker members, and municipal officials who are on the front line of service delivery in the Western Cape. Thank you for all that you do to support our municipalities, our building blocks for growth, and members of a thriving economy for the people of the Western Cape. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, the municipal... Honourable Dagmar, I'm on the floor. Thank you very much, honourable members. Honourable Minister, the Municipal Economic Review and Outlook will now be referred to the relevant standing committee for consideration. Honourable members, we now move on to interpellations in terms of Rule 197. I recognise Honourable Dagmar, honourable members. We have now moved on. We are now at interpellations in terms of Rule 197. I recognise the Honourable Premier.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Speaker, and thank you very much to the Honourable Kama for the question. Of course, this question relates to a piece of legislation, the Act Number 2 of 2021 Customary Initiation Act. And question 1, what is the composition of the PICC? The Western Cape PICC has been constituted in terms of the law and has the following members. 11.3a, that's the first section of the Act. This designation is the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders. And of course, this is because in this law on page 22 under item 3, it says in a province where a provincial house has not been established and where no traditional leaders have been recognized, but initiation takes place within the province, and so goes on to direct how this process.
Order, members.
Follow.
Order.
So in that section, the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders, Nkosi Joy and Morena Molefe are the two individuals that have been nominated via that National House to this committee. Then 13.3b, the designator is myself, and that actually comes via the MECs in the province. So the first one is Ms. Dingayo, that's a director in the Provincial Archive Services. Of course, that comes through Minister Mare's department. And then, of course, through SALGA and the Department of Local Government. This is a policy director, Mr. Dwengu. And he comes from policy and strategic support in the Department of Local Government. 11.3c, that's the South African Local Government Association themselves, who also have the opportunity to nominate, and their Councillor Plato, Miki Plato Mentor from Theewaardes Kloof Municipality is the incumbent, and Councillor Carl Punt from the City of Cape Town is the incumbent. Then under 11.3 of Health can nominate, and that's Ms. Shamim Modak Robertson, District Manager Emergency Medical Services is the incumbent. Also, the Provincial Minister of Community Safety nominates, and that's Mr. Vuyani Mkaka, Deputy Director, Regional Manager, Garden Route Community Police Relations Unit. And then lastly, 11.3E, Interim Traditional Health Practitioner Council of South Africa nominates the last seat. And that's Mr. Lukolo Tretana, and is the Traditional Health Practitioner of the Western Cape Province. And then question 2, whether all the initiation forums were consulted before the committee was appointed. Section 11.3, the Act provides that the committees is appointed by the designated representatives, and there is no statutory requirement for consultation with provincial structures or forums before the committee members are designated under this Act.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. I recognise the Honourable Kama.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, allow me to commence by conveying a message on behalf of the Western Cape Initiation Forums Executive Council, an entity comprising of 39 forums in the Western Cape, and it is duly recognized by Contralesa. The Council, in its memorandum addressed to the ANC, has expressed frustration at the lack of response from both the Premier's office and the MEC, despite attempts to communicate. Permit me to quote directly from their memorandum, and I quote, "We tried to communicate to Premier's office and MEC of DCAS, but we don't get any response from both of them. We decided to communicate with your office because we need your quick intervention and assistance since we are in the middle of the summer season. And all the forums took a decision that we will not submit any paperwork from our side, although we did complete the forms as required, but we'll keep them until we get a response from the province," close quote. And it is only
Order,
Speaker,
members. Order.
It is only, Speaker, after I had met with the forum and communicated with the department that this morning they received all the responses from the letters that they have been writing, because this matter is on the agenda today. In response to the Council's concerns, the provincial government, through DCAS, has issued threats of stern action should the forums fail to submit.
Order.
The recent closure of 4 initiation schools in the province is a direct consequence of the Premier and the provincial government's failure to engage meaningfully with the traditional leaders and initiation forums who are custodians of Ulwaluko in this province. I'm also made aware that some of these leaders from the forums are now criminalized and summoned to court as from tomorrow, because apparently they've failed to submit applications to the province. It is crucial to emphasize that the recent closure of initiation schools are not solely due to their alleged illegality, as asserted by the department. Instead, these actions highlight the broader issue of the DA's government's disregard for communication and its undermining of traditional leaders. Because the excuse they give that they did not open the season or they opened before the season started, it is in the very same emails that were written to this government and it never responded, where the forums said that we would want to open earlier because there is a high volume of young boys that want to go to the school this year. And for the safety of these kids, we need to open earlier and ensure that no lives are lost. In their memorandum, the 39 initiation forums assert that they were left uninformed and unconsulted during the appointment of the provincial initiation coordinating team. And the Premier confirms, because it treats initiation as just a matter of reading the Act, when it's about preserving the culture of the people who are in the inhabitants of this province.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kama. Your time, your first opportunity has expired. I now recognise the Honourable Frye.
Mr. Speaker,
Order, members.
I thank the Premier for his response on the matter and for his government's work in relation to this issue. In our country, far too many of our youth die or suffer debilitating injuries during the traditional initiation process, and often as a result of entirely preventable circumstances. We know, however, that the Western Cape government, and in particular the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sport, has worked hand in glove with the traditional leaders to make the practice safer and more accessible, while preserving the deep significance and traditional values of initiation ceremonies. As a result of these efforts, the Western Cape remains one of the safest provinces in South Africa when it comes to initiation. In fact, recent weeks have seen the Western Cape government take action against 4 unsafe and illegal initiation schools, likely preventing the injury or death of initiates. With that in mind, I would like to ask the Premier to elaborate on the support which the Western Cape government provides to initiation schools in the Western Cape and the results of these measures. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Fry. I recognize the Honourable Kama.
Honorable Speaker, it is an apartheid style to criminalize people that are raising genuine issues. The 2 people who are appointed as traditional leaders in this council that is supposed to oversee the initiation school in this province, one is from Eastern Cape and one is from KZN. And the people of this province are only making calls that they must be recognized in their province and given the opportunity to oversee the initiation. But somlomo namhlanje sizibona sixoxa le micimbi yesiko lethu nabantu abangenaziduko nabangazi nowathwethwe ngamasiko ethu. Loo nto idala into yokuba isiko lethu lingahlonitshwa yaye linyashwe ngulo rhulumente ulawulayo kweli phondo. As a result of the DA's government actions, in particular the Stellenbosch municipality's action in Ida's Valley, the initiation forum took the municipality to court. Judgments were made in favor of the forum. Eventually, they ran out of funds to go to court again, resulting in them agreeing to be relocated into a different site outside of Franschhoek. As a result of this, few days back, an initiate died in the province. The death of this young man is in the hands of Stellenbosch municipality, and it is in the hands of this government, because the distance that they travel from Stellenbosch to Franschhoek, outside Franschhoek, made it difficult for the people who had to respond when help was called. May his soul rest in peace, but not in vain. Honorable Speaker, the Customary Initiation Act 21, Section 18.1 underscores the significance of partnerships between the provincial government and municipality, the principal of initiation schools within the province, and the traditional leaders. Regrettably, this collaborative approach has been neglected by this government, showcasing a disturbing pattern of undermining not only our traditional leaders, but also Ulwaluko. Secondly, Section 20, subsection 1 makes it clear that traditional leaders bear the ultimate responsibility of overseeing initiation practices within the jurisdiction of their kingship and queenship councils. The Premier's failure to implement Section 18 and 20 of the Customary Initiation Act indicates a lack of due diligence in recognizing and respecting the vital role of traditional leadership in initiation forums as custodians of Ulwaluko. I wish to bring to the attention of the Council's memorandum and urge the Premier to address the outlined grievances, particularly with regard to the appointment of the PICC. Additionally, there is a pressing request for the provision of safety clothing, protective equipment, urging municipalities to supply water and emergency assistance to initiation schools. Of paramount importance, the initiation forums call for the rezoning of all initiation sites in the province as heritage sites. Lastly, a critical question remains unanswered. What has become
Honourable
of the
Kama,
boys?
please conclude. Your time has expired.
Yes, what have become of the boys who were in the closed initiation schools? Furthermore, when can we expect the Premier to engage with the leaders to ensure these issues are addressed and not engaged with?
Thank you, Honourable Kama. Your time has expired. Thank you, Honourable Kama. Please take your seat. Honourable Kama, please take your seat. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the Honourable Kama for bringing this debate here. The Honourable Kama knows very well that this Minister Marais, and her department
Honourable Dagmore,
very, very hard to make sure that this specific process is followed according to the rule of law, and we work really hard to make sure that we protect lives in this process. I am absolutely on record in this House over years to say that one of the
Honourable
things
Premier,
that I
please take your seat. Honourable members, interjections are allowed, but this running commentary cannot be entertained or will not be entertained any further. When there's a member on the floor, please allow that member to have his or her opportunity to make their submission or deliver their contribution. Honourable members, this is the first time that I'm raising this. Can I please ask for your indulgence? We have a long day ahead of us. Honourable Premier, my apologies, you may continue.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I've been on record over many years in this House talking about specifically various cultures and rites of passage. And if you link that through to even the safety plan, you know that I think in many areas we are missing cultural activities because it is about men, rites of passage. Those kind of things are how we actually get to the causalities and deal with gender-based violence and crime. That's actually what we should be promoting. And we work very hard at this. I also want to point out to the Honourable Kama the regulation and the legislation. He is a legislator. He is elected to serve here. He must understand the law and these committees. He knows very well, and he comes here and he talks about two individuals that are not from this province. It is his ANC national government and the national office that actually appoints them because they have not finished.
Honourable Premier, please take your seat. Honourable members, have you done? Honourable Premier, you may continue.
Thank you very much. Because it is the ANC that have been dragging their feet over many years on enabling the Provincial House of Traditional Leaders for Khoisan. It is the ANC that actually denied the First Nation status at the United Nations. It's the ANC that said that, not us. They're the ones where the cause comes from. And get that sorted out so that we can actually have provincially appointed individuals, not through the national office. He comes here to complain about that. He must understand the law. Second of all, Speaker, he must also understand that there are mechanisms for disputes. There are mechanisms for disputes within this law.
Honourable Premier, please take your seat. Honourable members, the Premier's on the floor responding. If you do not like the response, then we can't adjudicate that. But can I please ask that you allow the Premier to respond? Honourable members, I'm on the floor. Can I please ask for your indulgence while a member is on the floor to allow that member to make their submission? There's rules that guides the proceedings of this House. Can you please adhere to them? Honourable Kama, is that a point of order?
Yes, Speaker. I think in line with the ruling you had just made, I think it would be important to advise the Premier that in terms of the rules, he's supposed to address this House through you, because it's him keeping on pointing at us that provokes the responses that he's getting. So if he doesn't know the rules, how much more in really reading the...
Thank you very much, Honourable Kama. Honourable Premier, may I remind you that you must please address the House through the chair. Honourable Premier, you may continue.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I apologize. And through you, the ANC must realize that they have dragged their feet. They're the ones in the United Nations that said they didn't recognize the First Nation status of the Khoisan in this province. They are the ones. Now, Speaker, I'm addressing you and the noise continues.
Honourable Premier, you may, honourable members. Honourable members. Honorable Premier, please switch off your microphone. Honorable Mvimbi, Honorable Mvimbi, you've been a member of this House for nearly 5 years for this term of office. If you want to address the chair, please rise and address the chair. But honorable members, Honorable Marais, I will recognize you. Please take your seat. Honorable members, this continuous running commentary is not going to be allowed. I've allowed interjections because interjections are allowed, but the minute you drown out the speaker and with running commentary it's against the rules, and that will not be tolerated. So please take this for all members that this is the last warning for the remainder of the sitting. Honorable Marais, you please you may address me.
Speaker, I think members should start respecting this house. It is not a circus, but we have this standard of this house is equal to a circus, and they disrespect the chair. Now you asked me to leave this house
Listen to you.
because
Order.
I did not.
Order.
I did not.
Order, members.
Speaker,
Honorable.
you must treat the ANC the way you treat all other parties. When I didn't comply by your ruling, you asked me to leave the house. Ask them to leave the house now.
Order, members. Honorable members. Honorable members, there was a member on the floor on a point of order. Honorable Marais, that was not a point of order. Honorable Mvimbi, you may address me.
Now arrives on a point of order, sir.
Honorable Marais, please take your seat.
Arrives on a point
Honorable
of order,
Marais,
sir.
I've recognized. Honorable Marais, please take your seat. Honorable Mvimbi, please take your seat. Order, members. Members, if there's a member on the floor on point of order, they are entitled to do so. Whether you like the point of order or not, they are entitled to do so. Honorable Mvimbi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. In order not to be
Order, Premier, there's a member on the floor. I'll recognize you thereafter. Honorable Mvimbi, what's your point of order?
Thank you very much, Honorable. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. In order not to be out of order, Honorable Speaker, I rise in terms of Section 44 of the Rules of Order, which is the issues of irrelevance and repetition. The issue we are dealing with here, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of initiation, not First Nation. So we'd like to please request the Premier to be relevant. The issue that is at hand, it's a culture and a tradition that we respect, that we actually, some of us honor. We've actually lived through it. We know it. When you speak about it, we feel it. So we'll also like the Premier to stick to it and actually treat it with the utmost respect that it actually deserves. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mvimbi. I note your point, Honorable. I will listen carefully with the noise. If you allow me to Premier, please just take note of the point of order. Honorable Premier, is there a point of order, or can I recognize you to continue?
And I heard people actually calling this member from this side of the House a racist. Now,
Correct.
of course,
Yeah.
I don't think that is part of the decorum of this House.
Honorable members, there was a point of order. Honorable Premier, I will consult Hansard and I will revert back to the House. Well, Kama?
No, thank you very much, Speaker. Can we also request that as you come back with the ruling, you also advise us as to how do we refer to someone who called us refugees in this house when we are citizens of this one nation. And he never apologized for that.
Honorable Kama, I'm not going to get into a debate on that. You cannot rise on a point. You can't rise on a point of order being a point of order. I've ruled on that. I will come back to the House after I've consulted Hansard. Honorable Syed, is that a point of order? Thank you very much. Honorable members, can I once again ask your indulgence that we continue? I recognize the Premier.
Thank you very much, Speaker. And the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders is the body that nominates two individuals that I've mentioned under 11.3a. I also want to point out to the Honourable Kama that disputes must be addressed and lodged through the WCPICC. The WCPICC is also the organization that has laid criminal charges against illegal initiation schools and is supported by DCAS. And of course, we are very, very mindful of lives that are lost across our country during this period. And we have to make sure that we protect our citizens in this process. I also want to say to the Honourable Kama that if he would please just give me the detail of
Honourable
these
Premier, please conclude. Your time has expired.
and I will definitely investigate.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable members, that brings us to the end of interpellation 1. We will now move on to interpellation 2, and I recognize the Honourable Minister of Education, Minister Mania.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. No, as the member is aware, the admission cycle is ongoing. He, of course, will also be aware that extremely late applications continue to arrive. And of course, Speaker, the honourable member must be aware that we have been dealt a devastating blow by national government. The Department of Basic Education has announced a 1.6 billion rand cut to the education infrastructure grant. And of course, what makes the cut particularly devastating is that for the first time ever, the cut is made within the financial year and thus takes effect immediately at exactly the time when demand for placement is highest. Our province, other provinces are also speaking about the consequences of these devastating cuts to provincial education budgets. The Eastern Cape Premier, Oscar Mabuyane, who said just last month, teachers may have to teach more students, which could make it difficult to provide individualized attention to students. Schools may have to cut back on programs and resources, such as extracurricular activities and supplies. Teachers may have to work longer hours and take on more responsibilities, which could lead to burnout and decreased quality of education. My colleague, Mbali Fraser, the Education MEC in KwaZulu-Natal, said just earlier this month, we've been frank and transparent that the challenges we face in the department are primarily due to financial constraints. The unfunded 2023-2024 wage bill exacerbated our situation, leaving the department short by about 3.6 billion this year. She then goes on to say that you've seen firsthand the impact that this has had on our schools and our districts. And Speaker, the consequences that she refers to include schools not being able to even print exam papers for their learners. But despite this devastating blow, we are going to fight hard to expand the number of places available at schools in the Western Cape by implementing our Rapid School Build program, where we aim to deliver at least 608 additional classrooms for the 2024 school year. We understand that this is a stressful and especially anxious period for our parents. As a department, we are asking parents to work with us as we try to accommodate children as soon as possible. We are exploring all available options to find a place for these learners for the start of the school year. Our officials in schools are working hard under intense pressure to make sure that we find a place for every child. We will leave no stone unturned in our effort to place every learner. And we will continue to work hard to finalize placement for all remaining learners in the Western Cape. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I recognise the Honourable Syed.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Firstly, allow me to welcome the various guests that are here watching this particular sitting, the various Palestinian solidarity activists, as well as the Consul General of Turkey in Cape Town, Mr. Sinan Yezeldag. I rise today, Honourable Speaker, to address a critical issue plaguing the Western Cape, a crisis that threatens the future of thousands of young people, the perennial problem of unplaced learners in our schools, which this administration and now the MEC has just shown us completely denies. As we approach January 2024, the spectre of unplaced learners looms large yet again, casting a shadow over the educational landscape of our province. It is disheartening to note that this provincial government has been quick to shift blame onto applicants, citing late submissions as a primary cause of this crisis. Speaking about budget, but we find out that it's poor administration if you look at the issues case by case. However, our officers have been inundated with complaints from concerned parents who applied on time and who followed due process, yet their children remain unplaced in schools. The blame game must cease and accountability must be shouldered. The heart of the issue, Honourable Speaker, lies in the inherent disparities within the Western Cape's education system. Rather than providing fair opportunities for all, this particular system seems designed to cater only for the privileged few, predominantly white, leaving black learners with substandard education in overcrowded classrooms bereft of basic amenities. This systemic injustice must be addressed urgently. The parents of a learner, Kamva Mtana, applied timeously and correctly for grade 8 for 2024 at 3 different schools, and all the schools, her application was denied at all the schools. She appealed and received the same response. The child does not know what to do or where to go, as she does not have a place in school for next year. This government is completely divorced from the realities of our people on the ground. This should not be happening in the Western Cape, a province that received 830 million for its infrastructure budget last year and embarked on what the MEC speaks about as a rapid school build program to deliver 842 classrooms and an additional 26,000 placement spaces. However, Speaker, this infrastructure budget has been mismanaged. The DA squandered the opportunity by resorting to temporary solutions
Please conclude.
such
Your
as
time is expired.
prefabs and Moladi schools instead of building permanent solutions. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Syed. That concludes your first opportunity. I recognise the Honourable Bartman.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, we have seen the Minister and the Department working diligently to improve capacity in our schools and to build new classrooms and schools in terms of the number of places that we require and that needs to be available. This is despite looming national budget cuts. And Chair, I'm going to actually quote from page 15 of the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill B33 2023, which was tabled in the Budget Committee this morning by the National Treasury. And on page 15, you will see every single province getting budget cuts on the education infrastructure grant. You will see particularly at the Western Cape an approximately 160 million rand budget cut amounting to a 12.2% in-year budget cut to our conditional grant. When asking National Treasury this morning, does this mean that we have to stop building schools? The answer was yes. Please don't build new schools. That was the answer on record this morning in the Budget Committee. This is going to be a direct violation of Section 28, subsection 2 of the Constitution dealing with the rights of children, as well as Section 29 in terms of the right of education, subsection 1 in terms of the impact it's going to have on the Western Cape. And with this in mind, given that education is an immediately realizable right, Minister, I would like to find out in terms of the application process, how the late and extremely late applications are going to affect the particular application process, but also with the amount of people that are moving to the Western Cape and the fact that the money is not following the feet. What is the impact of this national looming budget cut going to be on the application process? I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Baartman. I recognize Honourable Kassim.
Speaker, the current school placement system in this province and whether the MEC choose to accept this or not is not only dysfunctional, but it's also very much still racist and classist. Speaker, the manner in which the school placement system is applied in this province is similar to the apartheid school placement system, where African and coloured learners were not welcome in certain schools reserved for whites only. And the slight difference now is only that the quota system these schools use today allow for a smaller number of black learners to enroll in these former Model C schools. Speaker, the 4th and 5th quintile schools use a quota system to the effect of having a set of number of learners in which the school wishes to take from each racial group. However, in most cases, the system favors white learners and much to the detriment and discrimination of black learners who are mostly rejected by these schools, and only for this department to later provide them with placement in remote quintile 1 and 2 schools. Speaker, the reason why the majority of black learners' applications are rejected in these quintile 4 and 5 schools is because there is this perception and this assumption that entrenched in racism and classism, Speaker, that African and coloured learners and their parents will not be able to afford school fees in these types of schools. And in the best way is to rather profile them by race and rejection of the application, Speaker. It does not make sense for parents to apply for their child to several schools unsuccessfully, only to be referred to the nearest district, which will in turn place a learner not only far from their home, Speaker, but also in a totally different quintile. With that being said, Speaker, when it comes to the learners who lodge appeals with the Office of the Provincial Education, MEC, after the placement applications have been rejected, what is the turnaround time in which they will be furnished with the outcome of the appeal? In other words, how long does it take for them to get to know the outcome? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kassim. I recognize Honourable Syed for your second contribution.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Till now, the MEC has still not told us formally how many learners are unplaced. Now, this lack of transparency regarding the number of learners not placed in our schools is deeply worrying. The MEC has deployed various tactics to avoid a simple question of how many learners are yet to be placed in schools, and is protected by the chairperson of our committee, Honourable Baartman. Instead, she goes on and talks about division of revenue and all of those things. She's actually the deputy MEC and not the chairperson of the committee to hold the DA accountable. They want to impress their leaders and not drive accountability. We want to know how many leaders have been, how many learners have been placed in schools built as part of the School Rapid Build program. I wish to draw the attention of the MEC to a desperate plea for help from a parent of an unplaced learner, Mr. Lionel Williams. In fact, it's been sent to the office of the HOD, who wrote to the ANC expressing his concerns. He stated, and I'm not going to quote the entire letter, but he says, I'm writing to you today to bring to your attention a matter of great concern regarding the enrollment process at Renish Primary School in Stellenbosch. Mr. Williams is black. This school is white dominated. It has come to our attention that there's significant unfairness in the manner in which enrollment decisions are made, greatly disadvantaging local residents within the established radius of the school. And I'm not going to go further. Mr. Williams' story mirrors that of many other parents whose children are still unplaced in schools despite applying in a timely and correct manner. The MEC is cognizant of these challenges, but has taken a decision not to put measures in place to address them. To the DA, it seems that unless an issue negatively affects a particular privileged constituency, it is not deemed urgent and will not be addressed. For example, Apartheid, Israel's genocide on Gaza, has not been condemned by a single leader of the DA. In fact, your members get cautioned if they speak about it. To the parents of unplaced learners, we encourage you to persist in the fight to ensure that your children have places in schools. We will stand with you side by side. In closing, Honorable Speaker, we welcome the passing of the Basic Education Law Amendment Bill as a significant step towards dismantling discriminatory practices within school governing bodies. The passing at national level. Western Cape is not an island. Yes, it must still go through the NCLP, but at the national level. The legislation will curb the misuse of admissions and language policies that have systematically excluded black learners.
Expired. Please conclude.
Paving the way for more inclusive and equitable education system. Yes, indeed,
Thank you,
here in this legislature, we must support this
take
bill
your seat.
that it gets.
Thank you, Honorable Syed. Your time has expired. Honorable Minister, before you continue, can I please remind the guests in the gallery, you must please not partake in the sitting, but you're more than welcome in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. Honorable Minister, you may continue. Honorable Dagmore, is that a point of order?
Speaker, could I just address you just in regard to your reminder to the members of the gallery? I just want to ask you, do you have any level of understanding, perhaps if someone is deeply impressed by the speech that has been made or has mentioned the issue of Palestine, and then the reaction is a voluntary one, and it's difficult for them to stop applauding. Do you have any sympathy for that spontaneous response?
Honorable Dagmore, that is not a point of order. That is not a point of order. But once again, honorable members in the gallery or honorable guests in the gallery, you are indeed very welcome in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, but please, you may not take part in the proceedings of the House. Honorable Minister, over to you.
Thank you, Speaker. It's very hard to imagine that any members of the public gallery would be deeply impressed with the performance of the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Speaker, we, as I've said in my opening remarks, are working hard to place learners. As the Honourable Member knows, the aim of the Rapid School Build programme is to build more schools in poor communities in our province. And we are mobilizing resources to expand access to education at an unprecedented rate. As I've said, adding an additional 600 classrooms this year, despite the devastating budget cuts. Just last week, as the Honourable Member knows, I was at a junior high school, a brick and mortar school, which is being built in the heart of Belhar, serving poor communities in our province. That Honourable Member is absolutely right. We have received over 22,000 late applications. And of course, we expect many more late applications. What makes the late applications challenging is that we do not know where learners will be seeking placement, what their grades are, languages, ages, and subject choices. And that, I hope honourable members would accept, makes planning and resource allocation quite challenging. Despite what the honourable member claims, we have been transparent and we have provided continuous updates during the admissions cycle. And we, I'm pleased to say, are making good progress. As of the 22nd of November 2023, we have allocated 119,110, or get this, 98.7% of the learners for whom applications were received for grade 1 and grade 8 for the 2024 school year. Placements in progress for 1,568, or just 1.3% of our grade 1 and 8 learners are in progress. And of those 1,568, 636 of those placements are late applications, which were received after the submission window closed, and some arriving, in fact, last week. But as I said in my earlier remarks, we do understand that this is a stressful period for our parents. That's why we are exploring all available options to find places for our learners in our province. Our officials are working hard under extreme pressure to make sure that we find places for every child, and we will leave no stone unturned in our effort to place every learner here in the Western Cape. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, that concludes interpellation 2. We now move on to questions for oral reply in terms of Rule 202. I wish to advise on or wish to remind honourable members that once the Honourable Premier or the Minister has started the reply to the oral question as printed on the question paper, honourable members must use the chat facility for the sitting of the House if you are on the online system, or indicate by show of hands that you would like to ask a follow-up question. There are 4 opportunities for follow-up questions, but the honourable member who has posed the initial oral question as printed on the question paper will have the first opportunity for a follow-up. Thereafter, honourable members may use the remaining opportunities to ask the follow-up question. The first question or reply will be the Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and thank you very much to the member for the question. The Western Cape government adheres to the same legal guidelines governing reporting of unethical behaviour, corruption and non-compliance as the broader public service, including the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, Act 1996, which emphasizes professional ethics for public service employees. This obligation extends to the Code of Conduct in Chapter 2 of the PSR 2016, and that requires reporting of unethical conduct, non-compliance and corruption. To uphold the Code of Conduct and in line with the Western Cape government values, whilst fostering ethical and integral workplace culture for optimal organizational performance. The Western Cape government opted for the Ethics and Integrity Management Strategy. This strategy applies across the Western Cape government departments, influencing policies, strategies, plans, and practices for an ethical workforce. Aligned with the national statutory provisions, the Western Cape harassment policy, updated again in 2023, ensures awareness of harassment definitions, responsibilities for prevention and management, and procedure for addressing allegations. The policy firmly condemns all forms of harassment, abuse of power, and protecting employees from any form of discrimination, fostering a safe work environment, and empowering compliant lodging without fear of retaliation. The Western Cape government employees subjected to a workforce harassment while performing officials' duties have the right to report such acts in terms of the mechanisms provided in the policy, triggering Western Cape government's investigations and appropriate action. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. I recognise the Honourable Syed.
Thank you very much.
Honourable members, just Honourable Syed, my apologies. Just before you pose your question, I've allowed Honourable Syed in terms of Rule 196, subsection 5, in the absence of the Honourable Lacker. Honourable Syed is duly authorised to ask the follow-up question. Honourable Syed.
Thank you very much for your indulgence, Honourable Speaker. And let me thank the Premier for his response and for citing some of the regulations. What I wanted to know from the Premier is, did the Director General of the Western Cape government have a relationship with a member of staff in the provincial government? And if so, what did the Premier do about it? If not, I'm not asking Honourable Dr. Meyer, can you please keep quiet?
Honourable Syed, please take your seat. Honourable Meyer, please take Minister Meyer. Order, members. Honourable Syed, I'm not going to allow that question to be posed to the Premier. It's completely out of order. And I mean, if the honourable members, you cannot put a question to the Premier or any other minister with things that's not even substantial. It's got nothing to do with or honorable members, ask a follow-up question on the response that was just received. You're asking the Premier for an opinion, and the opinion or you're asking the Premier to give his view on something, and that is completely out of line. It's not in terms of the rules. I'm not going to allow that. Honorable side, I have ruled on the matter. If you have an objection to my ruling, you can follow the parliamentary process to ask. You can challenge my ruling and use the parliamentary mechanisms to do so. Honorable Premier, I'm not going to allow you to answer that question. Honorable side, I will give you an opportunity to pose the second part of the question that you want to pose. But no, honorable members, if you have an objection to my ruling, please follow the parliamentary processes to challenge that ruling. I have ruled on the matter. Honorable side, would you like to use that opportunity? Honorable Dugmore.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I would like to address you on your ruling. I think it is only fair that members of this House can be informed in terms of what rule you have actually made this ruling, because if we are, as we surely will, follow the process in regard to your ruling, you surely need to cite us what rule, because I would argue, Speaker, that you are fundamentally undermining the democratic right of members of this legislature. We all know that you refused my request to ask a question to the Premier about the issue of Palestine. You refused. And now you are simply protecting the Premier. Here is a question that is being asked by to the Premier. The accounting officer reports to him. Surely there must be a basis for you to make this ruling. So my question is, in terms of what rule are you prohibiting Honorable Syed from asking a question which is directly related to the question proposed by Member Lacker, which talks about ensuring that there's no abuse of power by senior officials, especially in instances of inappropriate relationships with subordinates? That's surely a legitimate question, and that's a follow-up.
Honorable Dugmore, I'm not going to entertain. I've ruled. You're more than welcome to follow the parliamentary processes. Honorable Chief Whip, is that
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Order,
Speaker.
members.
Thank you very much, Speaker.
Order. Honorable
Speaker,
Chief Whip.
thank you very much. I'm covered by the sense that you've said you have ruled in this regard. This is an August House. This is not Lutuli House. Speaker, I wish to emphasize in terms of Rule 1963D, Speaker, that a member are not allowed to be asked to express a view. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable Chief Whip, I have ruled on the matter. Honorable Side, would you like opportunity?
You see, Honorable Speaker, let me address you. You are patently unfair. You are covering up for the executive. But if you had to give me an opportunity to complete the question, you would not even have ruled it out of order. Because if I had to complete the entire question.
Order, members. Honorable Side, you don't need to shout at me.
If I had to complete, I have to, because what you are doing is wrong. And I'm glad that you are exposed. The DA is exposed in front of the public for covering up for this executive.
Order,
yes.
members.
And say something that's out of order.
Order, members. Honorable, there's a member on the floor. I'll recognize
allow me to complete my question.
Honorable Chief Whip and Honorable Kama, please take your seat. Honorable Side, you're still on the floor.
Allow me to complete the question. If so, what did
Chief
the Premier do about it? If not, has any information to this effect come to his attention? Simple. Yes or no? That was it.
Honorable side, honorable members, I've ruled on the matter. Honorable Premier, you will not. Honorable members, are you honorable Chief Whip? Is there a new point of order? Because I'm not going to entertain any further points of order.
Speaker, may I address you?
You may.
Speaker,
I
if
ask
you
that the
allow
House be
her,
suspended
all
for half an
speak.
hour.
Please take
Will
your seat.
speak if you allow her.
Honorable Kama.
Thula ke wena.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I stood up earlier even before the Chief Whip. I stood up earlier even before the Chief Whip because I realized that you were disrupted when Member Said was making the question. Because Member Said was making the question and he was disrupted by the Minister of Agriculture. And before he could even conclude, you then made a ruling. Surely, Speaker, when you ask about some sort of an alleged misconduct or anything like that, which seemingly happens now and again in this government, and you ask whether this has been brought to your attention as the leader of government, this has been brought to your attention. If not, if it was, what have you done about it? If not, what are you going to do about it? That is a legitimate question. And Speaker, to then just say, no, I've ruled, you are asking the Premier to make an opinion. That's not what Member Said asked from the Premier. Did not ask for an opinion, but asked whether this was brought to the attention of the Premier and whether and the Premier could simply respond yes or not. And precedence in this House is that the one who used to shout a lot here, Fritz, there was an issue about Fritz, and we had to ask if this was brought to the attention of the Premier, and the Premier had to respond. And that question was never deemed to be a question that seeks for an opinion. We don't want opinions. We are holding the government accountable. And that is the responsibility of this House. And as the Speaker of this House, we have a responsibility to ensure that this House performs its duty of holding this government accountable. And really, that is not fair, Speaker. Hence, Member Dagmo was saying, you at least owe us an explained ruling than to just dismiss us when we are holding the government to account in this instance. Because we feel that you are dismissing us without even telling us what is the rule, what content in that statement is seeking for an opinion of the Premier, rather than asking a direct question if this issue was brought to his attention.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kama. I have ruled on the matter, so I take note of your comment. I recognize the Honorable Fry. Honorable Fry, you may continue.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I thank the Premier for his response.
Honorable Fry, please take your seat. Honorable Side, is that a new point of order?
Speaker, it must be placed on record that the manner in which you are chairing the session and dealing with this question in particular, you are shielding the Premier, you are shielding the executive. It must just be noted. And I'm glad that we've got people in the gallery. I'm glad that the media are here and the Democratic Alliance is exposed. You are protecting. We are not saying that something happened or didn't happen. We just want clarity. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Side. That is not a point of order. Honorable Fry, please continue.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to thank the Premier for his response. While difficult to get it right, it is vitally important that we do everything possible.
Honorable Fry, please take your seat. Honorable Barnes, what's your point of order?
Yes, Speaker. I think Honorable Said, when he raised his hand, he had a question. I'm not sure now when you are moving to the next question without an answer or giving him a second opportunity. Are you dismissing him or what are you saying?
No, Honorable.
The Chief Whip, there's no comment.
Order.
We are in questions now.
Honorable Barnes, I've allowed the Honorable Chief Whip or the Deputy Chief Whip of the opposition to pose a question. He continued in the point of order. I've ruled. I've recognized Honorable Fry. There is 2 more opportunities where if the Honourable Side want to pose another question, he may do so. Honourable Fry, you may continue.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It is vitally important that we do everything possible to insulate our workplaces from abuse of power, especially as it relates to gender. With that in mind, what is the Premier's government doing to promote gender equality in the workplace? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Fry. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much, Speaker. And
Order, members. Honourable Premier,
thank
you
you
may
very much,
continue.
Speaker. And I want to first say that my initial reaction to when someone stands up in this House and talks about an official in this government, in this House, straight out of the blue, nothing on paper or whatever, and says, is this individual in a relationship with another individual? I must say that I think...
Order, members. Honourable Side, I'm going to give you another opportunity after this. Honourable members, there was a question posed by the Honourable Fry. The Premier is responding. I cannot dictate how the Premier responds. Honourable Premier, you may continue.
I think that's totally unacceptable. But I will speak to the issue that the honourable member has raised, because I know of a case.
Honourable Premier, that is not the question that the Honourable Fry raised.
I'm going to speak to this initial question.
That question I've ruled on. So if the Honourable Syed will have another opportunity to pose a question, but can you please answer the question posed by Honourable Fry? Premier, you may continue.
So I'm actually a little bit caught unawares here, because the Honourable Fry's question I didn't hear correctly, because I was trying to get the real information for this. I'm not sure if the Honourable Fry could just quickly pose that question.
Honourable members, in the interest of moving forward, I'm going to ask Honourable Fry if you want to pose your question.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. My question was, what is the Premier's government doing to promote gender equality in the workplace?
Thank you very much, Honourable Fry. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and thank you to the Honourable Fry. I think first of all, I'm sure this House knows, but of course we've got citizens watching, that we have, first of all, on a minister, Minister Fernandes, whose total focus and responsibility is to deal with GBV issues, first of all, within our government, but then, of course, wholeheartedly across our province. We know that gender-based violence in South Africa is a massive scourge that is, I mean, the detail and the numbers are just horrendous. This government has run a couple of projects specifically in the workplace. We've gone through processes where we've put posters up. We hold things called courageous conversations that are led by Minister Fernandes, where we enable people to come up, speak about these issues so that they can be dealt with decisively, like laying criminal charges, like going through investigations, like you heard in this House, a lot of noise about a minister in this House. Well, it was very easy to deal with. I got the allegations. I confronted him. I suspended him. I put an investigator in place. The investigator concluded the investigation. I fired him based on his reply to the questions asked, not on the document, because that document, as we've had over and over again, protects the individuals. In this country, we need to protect the whistleblowers, and we need to protect those abused women. And I will stand and fight forever to protect those women, because that is the problem in our country, is we do not protect the women who are abused. And I will continue to do so. And they have never brought a court application to try and get that information out, because they know no court will give them that open information.
Members. Order.
was dealt with by a senior advocate at the Cape Bar.
Order.
And I am actually still distressed that no charges have been laid by those individuals, because this should see its way all the way to a court finding. That's what should happen in that specific case.
Thank you, Honourable Premier. Honourable Syed.
Honourable Speaker, seemingly the Premier wanted to respond to the question, but you prevented the Premier from responding to the question. So let me ask, but not exactly in the same way. In the context, we still have Farrell Payne, who's still appearing in court on GBV charges from the Department of Transport. Within that context, I'm asking, has any information to the effect of what we have raised about the DG come to the Premier's attention? What, if any information has come, what has the Premier done about it? That's all we want to know.
Honourable Premier, there's two questions in that. There's one follow-up allowed. I'm not going to dictate how you respond to that, but please just be mindful that when you are mentioning names of members of individuals, that's not members in this House that can defend themselves. Honourable members, please just be mindful when you pose those questions, and Premier, please do so when you respond.
So first of all, on the question that was raised around an official that works in this government, you know that if it's the Director General or an HOD, then that is my responsibility. If it is another official within a department, it is the responsibility of the accounting officer or the HOD then to follow through. In the case of the official that he's mentioned, of course, it has been said, and you could hear in the banter, that the case is in court on the one side and also being dealt with through CCMA actions. And of course, that HOD applied her mind in this case. And of course, those answers have come to this House, and that process must follow. Because of course, I believe in the rule of law, I believe in our Constitution, and we have to allow these legal processes to follow their course. And I know that I'm not obliged to, but in the case that has been raised by the honourable member, I presume, now I must presume because of course he has not given me really any detail, he's just raised massive suspicion around the Director General in this province. And I've said to you that I found that quite unacceptable in a parliament. I don't think that's the way that it should be done when someone's integrity is questioned. But Speaker, through you, if this is the case, and I don't know if it is, but if it is
members,
the case, a while ago, I did receive somebody sent a message to members me suggesting what the honourable member suggested. We tried to trace this person to get detail, because I said, please, I need detail on this. I will deal with it if this is correct. I need detail. I even lodged it with police, and we traced it to a burner phone, and there was no further detail if this is the same case. But I also took that detail and I did raise it with the Director General, who denied it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honourable members. Are there any further follow-up questions? Honourable Syed.
Chair, and let me say, from the Premier's response, clearly it was nothing out of order. We don't do these things to besmirch people's character. This is a platform through which we are able.
Order,
this
members.
Is the platform through which.
Honourable,
this is the platform
Honourable
through
Syed,
which we are able to raise issues.
Ask your follow-up question.
Yes, I'm preempting the question. This is where we can raise issues. There's nothing about shocking. We are protected by parliamentary privilege here, and we have not said anyone is guilty of anything. They must not choose what is shocking with his selective morality.
What is your
as he has selective morality on the issue of Palestine and Ukraine as well.
Honourable Syed.
My question is.
Honourable Syed.
My question
Honourable
is.
Chief, please take your seat. Honourable Syed. Honourable Syed. Can I please address you? Honourable Syed, we are busy with oral questions. You are allowed a follow-up question. You made an entire statement and then you expect me to allow you to then pose your follow-up question. Please do not abuse the parliamentary rules and privileges. Honourable Syed, please ask your question.
Did the Premier request for a case number? Was there any other further follow-ups that he made after that message? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier.
I think I did answer that question. We tried to contact this person. It was a very vague message. We even gave it to the police to trace, and the message back from the police, it's a burner phone and not traceable.
Thank you very much, honourable members. That concludes question 1 on the question paper for oral reply. We now move on to question number 2. Honourable Premier, I recognise you.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much to the honourable member for the question. The Department of Police Oversight and Community Safety informs me that, number 1, the provincial government has identified areas that are high priority due to the volume of murders that occur in these areas, and Gugulethu, Mfuleni, and Nyanga fall within this category. As such, there have been and currently are LEAP deployments to these areas on a daily basis. And the table below, Nyanga 84 deployments, Gugulethu 64 deployments, and Mfuleni 91 deployments. Having reviewed data at the times that the crimes take place, the LEAP officers have implemented 2 shifts of 12 hours each so that the area has presence 24 hours a day. LEAP officials are briefed daily and are aware of the crime patterns as they materialize. Therefore, the provincial government has responded to these needs as envisaged in the safety plan, using visible policing as a vehicle to achieve safety outcomes. LEAP continues to work together with the South African Police Services and Metro and city law enforcement to prevent and address crime and as and when it arises. Residents are urged to call the city's hotline number and report all criminal activities to assist LEAP and other law enforcement officers to respond to matters that might be occurring. 2, the province has allocated LEAP resources in response to an analysis of murder hotspots. The province continues to engage with SAPS to increase its human resource allocation to the province with the highest murder rates, and will continue to monitor those allocations. Now, of course, when in the last few months we saw an increase in specifically some of these hotspots, it was horrendous. I mean, sometimes we would see up to 120 murders in 1 week. And of course, still the responsibility, as we have been saying so often in this house, resides with the South African Police Services. When I was elected to this house nearly 5 years ago, and we said we're going to put a safety plan in place because this province was the murder capital of South Africa. More people were murdered in this province per 100,000 than any other province in our country. And that's why we put extra money towards the safety plan. We only have an oversight role according to the Constitution, but we said we have to change things. We cannot deal with the murder rate that we have. And of course, look at the latest statistics, not just in these 3 areas as raised in this question by the honourable member. Look at murder in South Africa, 27,000 people in this country. In actual fact, last year was 27,272 human beings in this province were murdered. The worst statistics in the last 20 years. Quite frankly, Bheki Cele should fall on his sword. He should resign. Immediately. He should. Quite frankly, he should be fired because he hasn't resigned. 27,000 murders.
Order, members.
But what I can say, Speaker.
Members, you'll have an opportunity to ask follow-up questions.
What I can say, Speaker, is that the interesting fact is.
Order, members. Honourable Premier, please take your seat. Please take your seat. Honourable members. Honourable Baka Force. If you want to pose a follow-up question to the Premier, you may do so. There's an opportunity. But for now, the Premier is responding. Premier, you may continue.
So it is absolutely disturbing, the crime statistics. And now the worst in 20 years. Just been released. But with the small amount of money the just over R1 billion that we put aside initially, and said, let's try something else. Let's not keep doing the same thing over and over again, not deploying officers to this province. It is the national ANC-run police that still don't put the police officers in their numbers to these police stations, to these hotspots. They still have more people in the other areas. Now, Speaker, unfortunately, we're not allowed to
Honourable
use...
Premier, please take your seat. There's a point of order. Honourable Bakabaka Force.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
That is a point of order.
Yes, it is. I want to ask you, where is the safety plan?
That is not a point of
Nobody's
order.
point fingers. Where is your safety
Honourable
plan?
Honourable Bakabaka Force. Honourable members. Honourable Bakabaka Force. Honourable Bakabaka Force. That was not a point of order. That was a question. Honourable Premier, you may continue.
Thank you very much. The honourable member asked for a safety plan. I'm going to send one to her. It is an ongoing working document. And of course, in this house, I've mentioned how the Institute for Security Studies, which are picked up internationally overseas, has a hotspot policing for murder and robbery in Cape Town, a case study that is studied through universities internationally. That's the safety plan. That is the safety plan. Then, of course, how to map violence without police data. That, again, is the safety plan on how our health data is used for mapping policing. But, Speaker...
Honourable members.
But, Speaker, the safety plan, we used to be the murder capital of South Africa 5 years ago, and then we put the safety plan in place. We are no longer the murder capital of South Africa. It is now the Eastern Cape. And we are no longer just number 2, we are number 3. KZN is also more than us. We are now number 3. We were number 1, we've gone to number 3. It is still not good enough. And the Institute for Security Studies, put out this report, Mr. Speaker, put out this report last week. And this report speaks, when did murder increase in the 4 provinces? Now, this is not us. This is the Institute for Security Studies, independent, doing an analysis of murders in the Western Cape. They ask the question and then they don't like the answer. So the Institute for Security Studies says change in the per capita murder rate in the 4 provinces with the highest murder rates over 2 consecutive periods. The first period is the bar graph on the left, and the second period is the bar graph on the right. On the left, the Eastern Cape, this is 2011-12 to 2017-18 is the first bar graph, and 2017-18 to 22-23 is the second period. And they measure the 2 periods. In other words, before the safety plan and after the safety plan, Mr. Speaker. And in each of those provinces, the Eastern Cape, it goes up. The murders per capita go up. In Gauteng, they drastically go up if you look at that graph. They more than trebled. In KwaZulu-Natal, they doubled. And in the Western Cape, Mr. Speaker, if these people can't hear me, I'll shout louder. I've got no problem with that.
Honourable Premier, please proceed. Honourable Bakabaka Force, this will be the last time that I'm cautioning you. I will name members the next time. That's not intimidation. This is a promise, because this running commentary, you're degrading the House, you're affecting the decorum of the House, and this cannot continue like this. Honourable Premier, my apologies, you may continue.
Thank you, Speaker. So people must be able to ask questions and then they must be able to be given the answers. And so in the Western Cape, if you look at the bar graph, it has got down to -1. It is by far the biggest change in murder rate in South Africa as a result of the safety plan. And this is only one, Speaker, this is the deployment of 1,300 officers, 1,300 officers to hotspots, as opposed to the 20,000 officers that the South African police services deploy in the Western Cape. There should be, is it 16,000? There should be 25,000 according to the numbers, but they do not deploy because they do not care what happens to the citizens and the most vulnerable in our province. So when you look at the safety plan statistics, and obviously the honourable member asked questions which are horrendous. When we saw those numbers, Minister Allen gave me those numbers week after week, another 120 murders, another 130 murders. It is horrendous. But when you look at not only the increases, you've also got to look at the influence of the decreases in the hotspots. So in Atlantis, there was a decrease of 77.8%. In Bishop Lavis, there was a decrease in murders of 21.7%. In Harare, 30.5%. In Khayelitsha, 26.5%. In Kraaifontein, 25.9%. In Philippi, 20.8%. In Mfuleni, 9.6%. And in Samora Machel, 7.1%. So obviously, I am totally distressed by the 84 murders in Nyanga, the 64 murders in Guguletu, the 91 murders in Mfuleni, the 4,000 murders in this province. 4,000, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Minister Becky Cele should have gone a long time ago. 27,000 murders in this country in a year. It is unacceptable. It cannot be justified. And we need to have devolution of policing power to this province. We will be able to show what we've shown with a small amount of investment and independent reporting. We will show you that we can make a big difference in safety of our citizens. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier, honourable members. The four opportunities. Honourable members, I'm not going to allow any further follow-up questions. I'm going to suspend the sitting for 30 minutes. The House is suspended. You may be seated. Thank you very much, honourable members, for your indulgence. We will now, the 4 follow-up questions to that question that the Premier responded on question 2 will be Honourable Barnes, Honourable Kama, Honourable Fry, and Honourable Bakubak Force. Honourable Barnes.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, from the Premier's response, the Premier was speaking of millions that has been spent within the budget of community safety to ensure that crime is fought. However, Speaker, in the same breath, the Premier is speaking about the national government that has to be blamed for that. The question I want to ask the Premier, after all this money has been spent, the millions of money that I'm speaking about here, I made the last time a recommendation to the Speaker, to the Premier, saying that how about looking into the plan of the former mayor, because it's clear that money cannot always solve problems. You can even blame any minister that's there. There are other strategies, but clearly it fell onto deaf ears. Now, can the Premier tell us where the safety plan failed and why the province is regressing on safety? Because as we are standing here at this present moment in time, the Western Cape is again #1 when it comes to crime stats. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Barnes. Honourable Premier, there was more than one follow-up question, but I'm not going to dictate how you respond.
So I've actually answered all of those questions, and she's absolutely incorrect. We have now gone to number 3 on the murder hotspots, where we were #1. I've mentioned the decreased percentages across the board, where it has come down. This is the only province in South Africa where it has come down. And sure, I am absolutely frustrated and angry by the 3 months in this last quarter where we saw an explosion of murders in a number of these hotspot areas, where the 1 week was 120 citizens got murdered. But of course, and you get these ups and downs, but what is the overall trend year on year? I've given the detail. And I don't know, I mean, she's asked the question again. At the moment, the Eastern Cape is #1, not the Western Cape. I'm giving you the answer. The Eastern Cape is...
Order, members.
The Eastern Cape is #1.
Honourable Premier, please take your seat. Honourable Side, is that a point of order?
Can the Premier speak directly to you, and in turn that will also create some sense of calm. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Premier, please speak to the Chair, and please order, members.
Thank you, Speaker. I'll speak to the Chair. The honourable member asked the question about the safety plan and the efficacy thereof, which I have given detailed answer to that. I first of all said that 5 years ago when we started with the safety plan, I don't know if she wants a copy as well. When we started with the safety plan, we were #1 murder hotspot in South Africa. We are now #3. We've moved from #1 to #3. But what happened is we had a plateauing and a slight decrease in certain areas over time. But what's happened nationally is the crime rates have just kept on going up across the country. And that's why when Becky Cele gives the crime stats, they are the worst in 20 years. That's why he should be fired, because they just keep on getting worse. 27 million people murdered. I've told the House that. It's unacceptable. So in the Eastern Cape, it is now 22.5 murders per 100,000 citizens. In the KZN province, it is 15.6. In the Western Cape, coming to the province, and I know that they're supposed to keep calm, but in coming to the Western province, it is now 16.5. We are no longer the murder capital because of those interventions. Because in that time, we've also seen a consistent undermining of the police, men and women, the numbers and support that they get in this province from the national-run ANC police minister. He keeps on giving less and less and less officers to the police precincts or the crime hotspots in the province. Still, I mean, I can't tell you how often, and the Honourable Kama will know because he's been in those meetings as well, where we said, Minister, look at the police to population ratio in Claremont. Now take some of those police officers and send them to Guguletu or Nyanga or wherever the murder hotspots are. They do nothing about it. Nothing, zero. That's why I should be fired. And so we put our small amount of money as opposed to the 200 billion at a national level. We put our small amount of money, use some data and evidence, Mr. Speaker, through you in answering that question. And of course, the independent reports come back and show something has happened. There has been a change. So that investment, that money has started to make a difference in citizens' lives in this province. And the really interesting thing, Mr. Speaker, is of course this data doesn't lie. There's the data. The interesting thing is to see what the Premier in Gauteng is doing. And when we go to the National Lekgotla and the Premier from Gauteng says the same as what I say, I'm sick and tired of the criminals with all the infrastructure, all the data, all the support, and we get no support from the police minister. That wasn't me. That was the Premier from Gauteng. And he says, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and also put law enforcement officers on the ground. The only thing is that the Premier in Gauteng didn't follow our regulatory model, because of course I believe in constitutionalism, the rule of law, regulation and legislation. So we did a partnership at a city level because that's where you can put law enforcement officers in place according to the regulation and the law. That's where you can actually employ people. You can't do them in a province. So what he did in Gauteng was the opposite in the model, but he also put some money towards it and employed extra people. I heard Premier Lesufi the other day in a meeting where he was also speaking about the national minister, and he said, Minister Bheki Cele, your days are numbered. That's word for word. That's what he said in that meeting. Because he is really angry.
Honourable members, the Premier is on the floor. Honourable members, we've suspended the House for 30 minutes. I got the agreement from both parties that we will continue to get through the order and the business of the day. Honourable members, I'm again for the last time appealing to you because I do not want to suspend the House or adjourn the House. There's things on the order paper. We cannot degenerate the House in the manner that we're doing. We are elected representatives. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much, Speaker. So what happened in Gauteng is they didn't use all of our regulation. You can ask Minister Allen how often other provinces come to visit him and the department to say, so tell us what you are doing. When we give these reports at the national Lekgotlas or the PCCs or that level, they all want to know in other provinces because they feel exactly the same that we do. They feel desperate because they're not getting the right decision making from a centralized, controlled SAP system out of Tshwane. They want also, like we have, more powers to deal with policing. And but the mistake that they made in Gauteng is they appointed them themselves. I suppose using an EPWP type model, and now the minister will not approve their peace officer status and their firearms. So that was why the Premier in Gauteng was saying that the minister's days are numbered. But of course, we would suggest that he follows the same process that we followed. We had a lot of interrogation through legal people and legal support in making these determinations. And that's where, Honourable Member, the money is being used and the evidence is there, the data is there. We've shown that it works, and that's why other provinces that are run by your political party come along here to come and have a look at what we are doing. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable Kama.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, you know, I think in the response of the Premier, he was raising some concerns around the weaknesses of SAPS. But unfortunately, as the committee, were not able to even exercise our oversight over that. I think the last time we visited the police station was in January. So we don't know what is happening in the stations.
Honorable Kama, can I remind you, you have a follow-up question to pose?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding me, Speaker. Speaker, I think as the Premier was saying that, I think about nearly 5 years back, he had this safety plan. And the safety plan talked about halving the murder rate in the Western Cape after carefully analyzing the crime situation in the Western Cape, not in other provinces. And then invested the billions into the safety plan. Now, I want to check, because the Premier in this House assured us that at some point, if the safety plan does not respond to what is the target, there will be some impact assessment that is then conducted. Now, understanding that we are nearly at the half of that period which was meant for this safety plan, I want to check what are the plans of government, because the recent statistics show that Delft is number 1 in terms of the murder, in terms of...
Order, members. Order, members. Honourable Side, is that a point of order?
I would like to know what's going on there. Clearly, a member of the public is being harassed and something is being confiscated from the member of the public. We would like to know what is it and what's the issue. We agreed on both sides of the House that we will have calm, but this is unacceptable and this is going to descend us into chaos.
Order, members. Order, members. Order, members. Order, members. Honourable members. Honourable Mvimbi.
While I await your ruling, can I please request us as members of the House not be party into harassing members of the public who are coming to dignify our occasion that we are sitting. Let us please not be part of harassing, because what we witnessed there was an unnecessary harassment of members of the public, and members of the public cannot be harassed under our watch. So while I'm waiting for your ruling, on this matter, can I please request that let us not be part of harassing members of the public while they are sitting there. They are our guests. In Africa, that's not how we treat guests.
Thank you, Honourable Mvimbi. Honourable Mayor, before I recognize you, I recognize the Deputy Chief Whip.
Chairperson.
Honourable members, there's a member on the floor. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I rise on Rule 59, subsection 1. When Member Mvimbi rose, he indicated that members of this House are harassing people. I'm looking at the members of the Democratic Alliance in this House. I'm not seeing members of this House of the Democratic Alliance busy harassing people. In terms of Rule 59, subsection 1, I believe the member is imputing improper motives amongst the members of the Democratic Alliance.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I recognize the Honourable Minister Mayor. I will recognize you thereafter, and after Minister Mayor, there's a point of order by Honourable Dugmore. Order, members. There's a member on the floor. Honourable Minister Mayor.
Honourable Chairperson, I am just consulting something that I think we hold very dear in this House. The core values of this legislature is respect.
Order, members.
It is transparency. It is honesty in this House. It is impartiality. Order. It's the values that we have committed. It is efficiency, and it is accountability. Members. And we are welcoming public participation and guests from the public But the rules of this house dictate that members who are in the gallery may not directly and indirectly get involved in the activities of this house. It is clear to me, Honorable Chair. Can I speak?
Order, members. There's a member on the floor.
Rose, on a point of order, can I be protected?
You are protected, Minister. Continue.
Thank you.
Order,
Now,
members.
it's a point of order.
Continue, Honourable Minister.
And I therefore think, Honorable Speaker, can I ask you to make a ruling in terms of participation of members of the public in the debate in terms of rules of this House? Because it is clear to me that the rules of this House is not being respected by certain members in the gallery, and therefore, can I be protected?
Honourable Minister, you can continue. I will address the matter when you come done.
I will therefore ask that we respect the rules of this House in the respect of both sides, but also on the sides of members in the gallery. And this behavior must be addressed by you as the presiding officer of this particular House. Can I?
Honourable members, there's a member on the floor.
I'd like to proceed. If I'm allowed to proceed.
Honourable Minister, please continue.
Can I?
Honourable members, please. There's a member on the floor.
Does not want me to continue.
Yeah.
It is a country, by the way.
Honourable Minister, please continue.
Yes. Honourable Speaker, in very simple, basic terms, can you make a ruling in terms of the conduct of members in the gallery, in terms of their behavior, and in terms of the rules in this House?
Thank you very much. I recognize the Honourable Dugmore, then Honourable Mvimbi, and then Honourable Bakabaka Force.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Also addressing you on this point of order. I think it's important that that as a Speaker who's in charge of this House, you get a report before this House rises today as to what was the conduct of the staff members of this legislature and any other member, because there's a serious allegation now that an item of property of one of our guests has been removed. The second thing I want to raise is that when members of this House want to defend other members, they, for instance, forget that a staff member of this legislature who was wearing a scarf similar to one that I'm wearing was basically belittled by a member of this House for wearing simply a scarf. So this conduct and this this fascism and this anti-Palestinian does not only extend to others. There is a member of this House from the DA who actually belittled a staff member and questioned why the person was wearing a scarf like this. That actually is a reflection of the bias of the pro-apartheid Israel stance that the DA has deeply embedded in their DNA.
Honourable Mvimbi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Of course, I'm rising in terms of Rule 66 of the point of order, but also would like to direct you to Rule 6 of the Rules of Order, which is on conduct of members of public. And it reads, members of the public attending a plenary sitting or a committee meeting may not create or take part in any disturbance of the proceeding of the House or committee and must obey the direction of the presiding officer. To this end, Honorable Speaker, there is no member of the public who has actually, according to me, transgressed Rule 6 of the Rules of Order. What we have actually said in terms of, let me also just clarify myself in terms of the accusation that has been made about me accusing the members. I have seen
Honourable Mvimbi, you cannot clarify. You rose on a point of order, and your point of order is noted. You don't need to. That's not a point of order.
I've been misrepresented. As a result, that misrepresentation is still going to be there until rectified.
Honorable Mvimbi, that is not a point of order. Honorable members, it is clear to me that there is no intention from the members of this house to continue with the session. I mean, you are clearly demonstrating that you have no desire to continue. And for that reason, I will now adjourn the sitting of the House. The House is therefore adjourned, and all questions and written replies will be printed in Hansard. The House is adjourned.
It's good.